everybody, I'm Betsy and welcome to Quillen's Quips, Knitting and More podcast. I am really excited to have you here. I hope somebody's watching. Hi Mom, right? This is episode 1, my very first episode, which you will probably tell as things goes on because I'm a little nervous and probably a little discombobulated, but I'm excited. So welcome. And this is going to be a podcast. It's called Knitting and More because it's going to be mostly about knitting and crocheting and designing fiber arts world. But then it's going to be a lot about me too. And sort of my life thrown into the middle of that and everything that goes on with me. So I wanted to start by kind of explaining the name Quillen. My website blog is called quillpensquips.com. The podcast is Quillen's Quips, Knitting and More podcast. I'm Quillen on Ravelry and on Instagram, and it came about mostly because I identify as a writer, and I have since I was very, very young, and I love to write, and I almost always have a journal with me, and I always write by hand. It's a handwritten journal, and I always write with pen. And I'm a little picky about my pens. I don't use quill pens very much, but the quill part comes from my last name, which is Quillen. So Betsy Quillen, that always has a pen, and quill pen, it fits together. And it's also actually my bowling name. It really started as my bowling name. Did you know there was bowling names? I didn't know there was bowling names. My husband is big into bowling, and when we were dating, we went on a lot of bowling dates. And when we were newly married, we bowled a lot. And he had a bowling name, and I just thought you go to the bowling alley with your friends and put in your names and maybe your initials if you don't want your whole name up there. But there's a whole thing about bowling names. It's a thing, and it's important in the bowling world. And I did not know that until I entered the bowling world. But now I'm a big part of the bowling world. I will admit it. I have my own bowling bag, my own bowling shoes, my own bowling ball that's custom cut to my grip. The thumb holes, finger holes are all custom made for me. And it does make a difference. And so my bowling name is Quillen. And that's probably where it all started. Because I was bowling long before I was crocheting or knitting, to be honest. I've been crocheting for about 3 years. I actually know that because today on my memories on Facebook, it popped up a trip that I made with my mom and a friend to this yarn shop, and that was the day that I bought the yarn for our project I'm going to show you in a little bit, and that's really what got me back into the crocheting world for real. I learned when I was little, but I never really did it, but that was what got me into it. And then I've been knitting for just at 2 years. I think June is my 2-year knitting anniversary. I resisted knitting for a long time. I was a crocheter. I was going to be only a crocheter. I was not going to knit. And then it happens. It happens, and I'm a knitter. And then I started designing, so now I'm a designer. It snowballs, really. And so that's what's leading up to this podcast, because I now love the fiber arts world and I love to talk about it, and I want to share that with other people. And I've gotten into podcasts recently and watching other people's podcasts, and it's like one big happy podcast family out there, and I want to be a part of that. So I am throwing my podcast out there to make new friends and meet new people and just share our love of fiber arts together. So here we go. Okay, first I'm going to show you what's on my needles right now. And I almost thought about not doing this part. I thought about waiting to do the podcast in like 2 weeks when this is no longer on my needles, because I wasn't sure I wanted to talk about it. But I think it's worth talking about it, and I'm actually kind of proud of it. So I'm gonna show you. What I'm working on, let me show you the pattern first, is this blanket. Can you see it's called The Next Step? Sorry about the glare. The Next Step Improving Your Knitting. It's this gorgeous big blanket. It's made out of 45 8-inch blocks, except for this one in the middle, which is obviously bigger. And the reason I was not into knitting. I was not a knitter. I was a crocheter. But I went to this knit and crochet show, and I was walking around the vendor hall, and I saw this blanket hanging there, this purple one, this actual one, hanging there, and then these books on a big table, and I loved it. And I kept going back. I probably went back to that booth like a dozen times, and I think finally the lady realized that I was basically stalking this blanket, and kind of came up and she was like, would you like to talk about the pattern? And I was like, I don't knit. She's like, that's the point. It's a blanket that teaches you how to knit as you go on. It starts with a garter stitch block, knit, 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 knit. And then you learn to purl. And the next block is stockinette. And then you learn a yarn over, and then you learn a whatever. And so each block teaches you a new skill. So by the time you're finished the blanket, you know all the increases and decreases, you know bobbles and cables and all kinds of intricate stitches. And it teaches you step by step. And it was supposed to be really great. And I thought, maybe this is it. Maybe this is what I need to start knitting. And so I bought it, and I bought a bunch of yarn for it. And I really love the yarn. I love the blanket. I love the finished blanket. The pattern is not going so well. Now, this might have been a first edition, and maybe they've done another edition, and because this was 2013, and that's exactly when I bought it. So maybe they've done a new edition and fixed some of the mistakes. And they do have this page in the back of errors to know where there's some errors, but there's a lot more errors than this. And for first, I was really frustrated because I didn't know if it was me, that I was really bad at knitting, or whether it was the pattern, because I would keep coming to a section where it would say, knit 6, but I only had 2 stitches left on my count, and I was like, I don't see mistakes. I don't know how. And I was going through and I was trying to do math, and math is not my strong point, and I was like, these numbers don't add up. And I took it to someone at the yarn shop that I go to and was like, am I crazy? And they're like, no, that doesn't work out. They mean for you to do this. And I was like, oh, okay. But I didn't know enough to read that mistake and mean, oh, they mean this. I didn't know that. So I was getting very, very frustrated. And also, you're supposed to make it on size 7s. They say that in the front, size 7s, I think. And whatever it is, it's one needle size. But sometimes the block will have you cast on like 32 stitches, and sometimes it'll have you cast on 49. But they're all supposed to be 8-inch blocks. And assuming the same person is making all the blocks in the blanket, that gauge isn't going to come out to 8 inches every time, no matter how well you can block it out. So I just got really frustrated, and I put it on a long timeout for a long, long time, till I actually knitted stuff I wanted to knit and learned new skills that way. And then I kind of came back and worked a little harder at it. But I still get frustrated when there's multiple patterns in a row that have mistakes, or when I'm taking a long time to figure out gauge just because the cast on number is weird. But I do pull it out on occasion and do a block here or there. So this is what I'm currently working on. This is the faux quilting pattern, and I actually really like this one. This has been a fun one to knit up. There was no mistakes in the pattern. The cast on number was correct, and so this has been really fun. And here's some more of what I can show you. This is the first 10 blocks. I'm doing it in 5 different colors technically. So the first 10 blocks are here, and they're all different. You can, like, that's kind of a basket weave, stuff like that. So that's color 1. This is color 2. Those are one of those blocks. And then this is color 3, but this color had a lot of the cables, which was actually throwing my gauge off, and so I was taking a break on the cables for this. So I only did 6 of those, and I will come back, and then I did 1 of this color, and then the final 5 blocks will be orange. The big one in the middle, and then the 4 corners will be orange. That's going to kind of be the contrast color. So that is what I am currently working on. I have a confession to make. And I should probably just go ahead and make the confession now, before we get too far into this relationship. I am a monogamous knitter. I didn't get struck by lightning. I'm a monogamous knitter. I knit one project at a time. I knit it, I bind it off before I cast on another project. I absolutely can't work on two projects at a time. I can't do it. I stick with one at a time. I'm very strict about this. My only exception is that across the different genres, I allow one project at a time within each genre. So I allow one knitting project, one crocheting project, and one design project, potentially one of each up at a time. However, that doesn't really usually happen. I'm usually still doing one at a time. I usually take a break from whatever I'm working on to finish something else and then start again. I like to do one thing at a time. I just do. So that is the only thing on my needles right now. But I have some finished things I can show you, because part of the perks of being a monogamous knitter is I am an awesome finisher. I have so many finished projects, and I don't have a lot of unfinished projects sitting around staring at me while something is screaming at me to be cast on. It's all in a queue, and it all gets done. But I have these awesome socks. I'm gonna butcher the pattern, but it's the Distijl socks. It's DE space STIJL socks. But take a look at this stitches. Like, look how cool that is. This pattern was super fun to knit. It's from a book called Socktopus. And you can only get the pattern from the book. I checked to see if it's just as available as an individual download on Ravelry. And it's not, but I have the book, and I love these socks. And this is the Canon Hand Dyes yarn in their Rhinebeck Rainbow colorway. And it's just gorgeous, and it worked really well for this pattern. Sorry, I have dog hair on everything because I was actually wearing these. It works really well for this because it ends up where there's like one color doing this, but then there's another color behind it. Like, can you see the yellow behind the orange? And this was a really cool stitch technique. I loved it. So that's one of my finished projects to show you that I finished right before this, because actually what's really cool, I'm right now in the middle of a unfinished object challenge, a UFO challenge is what we call it. And what it is it's a group from our local yarn shop, and our extended group on Ravelry in the area. And we started in January, and in the beginning of the year, we made a list of 5 things that we needed to finish. So for most people that have a lot of whips around, they would pick some whips that have kind of been lagging, that they needed to get a fire under them to get going, to finish. So in my case, I picked a bunch of projects that I have ready in my stash, that I've already purchased the yarn for and the pattern, and I have it all ready to go, but I have to get to it. And so we made a list of 5 things. And then at the beginning of the year, we drew a number. And I forget what the first number was, like 3. So our first thing was our 3rd thing on the list. So whatever that was for everybody, that's what we had to finish. And it's about 2 months, about 8 weeks, I think, sometimes 9 weeks, depending on how the months play out, to finish. And you have to either bring it to the meeting to show the finished object, or you have to take a picture and post it on the Ravelry group, or show it to somebody else that's going to be at the meeting. Like, you have to prove that you did finish it. And then at the next meeting, once you've shown all of your finished objects, you draw the next number. If you did not finish your project, you pay $5 to the pot. If you finished, you get an entry into the pot prize drawing at the end of the year. I am determined to not pay any money. I mean, I had to pay like the first, everybody paid $5 at the beginning, so there is a pot to win. But, so I'd paid that, but I don't intend on paying any more money. And so this was the last thing. This blanket is the current thing, and I didn't even tell you my yarn. The yarn for this is Rowan pure wool worsted. None of the colorways have names; they just are numbers. So this is what it's really more of a periwinkle blue. It's looking awfully bright on this screen, but it's more of a periwinkle blue. So this is my current thing is to do 10 blocks of this, because I put this on hiatus a lot, and when I pull it out, I tend to do 5-10 blocks at a time. Consider that a project's worth, and then put it away while I do some other projects until it's time to pull out something like this again. Or I often use this in between if I finished a project, but I'm not starting another project yet because of a cow start date or something. I'll throw one of these blocks in the middle. But so I've done 7, the 6 of this color, and this dragon scales 1 of this periwinkle color. So that's 7, and then this is 8. So pretty soon I should be done. I would say I'm going to finish the next 2 blocks this coming week, just kind of the way things are going. And then the next thing is our final thing. It's only going to go through the end of October, because holidays get crazy for everybody. So we're finishing at the end of October, so we draw the number at the end of August. So on the last Saturday of August, I can start the next thing, which is going to be my Elfie sweater that I'm very excited about. But that's always away, so I'll be talking about that on a future podcast. I'm in this UFO challenge. So that's what I'm working on now. When I finish these blocks, when I finish this, I might, I'm thinking, next week is the design challenge. I'll talk about that in a minute. First, I'm going to talk about crocheting. I am pregnant right now. Yay. But not, because I get very, very sick when I'm pregnant. This is my 3rd baby. We have 2 sons. One is 2 years old, one is 10 months old, and then this new baby will be due in January. But I get very, very sick when I'm pregnant. First pregnancy, I didn't knit. So that wasn't a big issue. I was very sick, but I didn't knit, so it didn't make it worse. The second pregnancy, knitting made it worse, and I was very frustrated because I'd be feeling okay, and I'd think, I can knit a little bit, and I'd knit a row and be sick. This pregnancy, I discovered a few weeks ago, just in time for this UFO challenge, that if I was already sick and throwing up, knitting didn't make it that much worse. So instead of picking a day when I'm feeling good, and thinking, I'll try to knit, and then knitting and it makes me nauseous, I wait for when I'm already nauseous, especially when I've already thrown up and then I come kind of hang out on the couch for a while. That's when I get a lot of knitting done, because it doesn't make me that much more nauseous, and I'm already nauseous, and it's working for me. I realize it's probably TMI. But that's what I'm going with right now, and I'm actually getting a lot of knitting done. But crocheting is still a no-go. But I have some cute finished objects. It's my favorite crocheted finished object ever. Are you ready for this? Are you ready? This is my Happy Hippo. It's the Happy Potamus pattern by Heidi Bears Designs. Oh my gosh, right? Is this not the cutest thing you have ever seen? This is crocheted African flower motifs. Basically, the motif is the same, but the number is different. So sometimes it's just a pentagon, sometimes there's hexagons and septagons and octagons, and you put them together in the correct order, and you make these. I have made so many of her designs. I love them. This was my first. This is what got me into crocheting, right? This was that project that popped up on my Facebook feed this morning. I went to the yarn shop and I bought the yarn because I didn't have any stash. Because everyone's like, oh, this is an awesome stash buster, which now I know it totally is, because you can just use whatever colors you want. They don't have to be all the same. Although I do have one that's uniform, because I made another one. I've made a lot. But this one's bigger because I used a thicker weight yarn. But This one's a little more uniform, which is totally doable. They're both adorable and super cute. But I went that day and bought all the yarn for this and knit it up in like a week because I love this so much. So you should definitely check out Heidi Bear's designs if you're into crocheting, or even if you're a new crocheter. The only skills this uses is single crochet, double crochet, a couple of chains, and slip stitch. That's all it is, just in certain order. And her patterns are really awesome. They're look intimidating because they're about like 40 to 60 pages depending on which animal you pick, but she is super good at making it detailed and clear. She has awesome pictures. She does a written pattern and a chart, so if you're better at one or the other, it's there. Really step by step, and then she'll like write like little like, you're halfway there, awesome job. She's just, it's really cute. It's awesome. And she'll even tell you when to stuff it, like now stuff the back half or something. She really does an excellent job on how to attach the ears. I have made multiple hippos, and I've made the horse and the elephant, and I have the stuff to make the giraffe. And I mean, she has a bunch. She has like dinosaurs and a sheep and a turtle and a frog and a bear. I mean, they're so cute. I think she's kind of like always coming up with more. I feel like when I keep going back to her site, there's more to pick from, and they're super cute. But I made this one uniform because I taught it as a class at our local yarn shop, and so I used yarn from the shop and showed it this way because it requires less yarn to purchase. So it's more of a manageable project for the budget when you're only purchasing three colorways instead of a million. This one is made out of Quince and Company. They're Finch base, and I'm not sure the colorways, but there's gray and pink and kind of a lime, and then this is just a conglomeration of a lot of colors and a lot of different yarn companies. I couldn't tell you. This was the first thing. That was before I knew that you should keep track of such things. But those are my favorite crocheted items. And then in the design world, I don't have any design project. I do have a couple of design projects going on in like the early stages of drawing design before I'm actually knitting them up to test a pattern. But next week is a Rohan Knits 5 shawls in 5 days challenge, and you should totally do it. If you go to my website at www.quillpensquips.com, I just wrote a blog post about it, and that has all the information and all the links to sign up and check it out. But it's 5 days, and in those 5 days, you get an email each day from Francois Denoy. I'm probably saying her name wrong. She goes by Frenchie, and she is the designer behind a Rohan Knits, and she designs beautiful knitwear pieces. And I took her Initiate Knit Design Challenge, which is what got me into designing a few months ago. And she's doing this 5 shawls in 5 days. And every day you get a new shawl pattern. I'm guessing, I've never done this before, but this is what my understanding is. You get the pattern and you knit it up, but you knit a mini one. Not a full-size shawl, just a mini one, because you're just learning the construction, the math, sort of when to increase or decrease to create different shapes. And each day is a different shape of a shawl, and you make a mini one out of whatever stash you have. It really doesn't matter. And you knit it up that day, and then you take a picture and you post it to the Facebook page with a special hashtag. And if you do that, then you're eligible to win the prize, or whatever prize she's offering at the end. I'm not even sure what it is. But regardless of the prize or the challenge part of it, it's going to be chock full of information. And she's going to post videos with tips and tricks, and her emails usually have extra links to stuff that she uses or that she thinks are cool. She explains yarn types and why some stuff works and doesn't for certain designs and shapes. And if you're trying to show off stitch pattern, then you want this kind of yarn. If you're trying to do a big field of stockinette, then you might want this kind of yarn. It's just so informative, and it's free. It's absolutely free, and it's just really worth it. You just get so much valuable information, whether you're wanting to learn more about shawls for your own knitting knowledge, just to knit to understand people's patterns when you read them and kind of understand better why you're increasing or decreasing here. But especially if you're interested at all in designing shawls or designing your own projects, it's going to be a lot of awesome, valuable information. So that starts next Monday, July 25th. So if you're interested, go to my website, quillpensquips.com, find the link to the 5 shawls in 5 days, sign up. You'll get a welcome email right away. You can sign up. You can join the Facebook group then. Get ready for it. And it starts on Monday. So my current block, my 10 blocks for my UFO challenge should be done by then. And then I'll spend that week doing that, which will be awesome. And then after that week, once that should be August 1st, should be by then, or right around then, within a day or so. And on August 1st, I can cast on for the Gilmore Girls Knit Along that's being put on by Geeky Girls Knits and the Knitting Broomstick. Those are both awesome podcasts that you should check out, but they're joining, Geeky Girls Knits and the Knitting Broomstick are joining to do a Gilmore Girls Knit Along that starts August 1st. And you can make whatever you want. It can't be a whip. You have to cast on August 1st or later. Whatever you want, you just convince them that it has to do with Gilmore Girls, how it relates to Gilmore Girls. And then they have some awesome prizes to draw for. I'm really excited about it. And I'm really excited because I just got Cece of Geeky Girls Knits. She's Java Pearl Designs, and she just released a pattern called Where You Lead, I Will Follow socks from the theme song of Gilmore Girls, and they're beautiful socks. It's a beautiful, beautiful pattern. I wish I had it right here to show you, but I only have the e-version copy. So I'm gonna cast on those for that, and so I can do those. And then by the end of August, I can do my next UFO, which will be the Elfie sweater. So I've even being a monogamous knitter, I've got myself lined up for the next couple months, and I'm really excited. So that is that. That's pretty much my my fiber arts section. So let's move on to more stuff about me. Our knitting group started a couple of years ago now, started a book club. And I forget exactly how it started. I know it started in October with sort of the creepy classics. Because I think there was a discussion one night at midnight about how most of us haven't read the classics. Somehow in our high school and college careers, we passed over some classics, and especially some of the Halloween classics, like the Book of Dracula or Frankenstein or Jekyll and Hyde. These books that we know, or the storylines that we know or think we know, but we don't actually know it from the original source. And so for that month of October, the book club met every week, and a different book a week. That was a little overwhelming. After that, we spread out to once a month, meaning we pick one book a month, but we still are doing classics. And it's been awesome. I can't believe it's probably been at least a year, if not two. And we read some good books and some not so good books. But this month, for July, was Fahrenheit 451. And I've already finished it. And I don't even have a copy of the book to show you because I loaned it to my mom, who is also in the book club. I can't believe I've never read Fahrenheit 451 before. I do feel like it's a classic for high schoolers or maybe college kids. I was homeschooled through high school, and so I didn't necessarily read what the public schools were having high schoolers read. I kind of forged my own path and did stuff I wanted to do, which at the time I loved, and I'm still very thankful that I was able to do that. But I think that's sometimes why I might have missed out on something like this that maybe my peers have read. And then in college, I don't know why I wouldn't have read it. But I loved it. Have you guys read Fahrenheit 451? If not, you should. It's a little sci-fi. I mean, technically it is sci-fi. It's a future world when books have been banned. And for someone who loves books and has been reading since I was little and just never without a book, to think of a world where that's been so overrun with social media and screen time that we have no more place for books, and that we're actually offended by books, and we don't want to offend anybody, and we just want to be happy and not have to think. So we ban all the books. To think about that kind of world potentially happening was interesting, and sort of how, I don't want to give too much of the book away, but just that you can take away the books, but you can't always take away the thought, and you can't take away memories. And I just really loved it. I really, really loved it. I went ahead and purchased it because I feel like it's a book I need to own. And I'm actually really sad that I'm going to miss the discussion this month. I'm going out of town. My mom and I are going out of town, so my mom's going to miss it too, even though hopefully she's reading the book. I'm bummed because I would look forward to discussing this with my friends, my knitting friends, and we do. We just sit around and knit while we talk about books. It's amazing. You should start a book club with your knitting group. And I'm not sure. I think we have the next book picked, but I don't know what it is. But I finished Fahrenheit 451 very, very early. I am not a monogamous reader. No, I will read multiple books at a time, and I'm okay with that. I don't know why that doesn't carry over into my knitting, but it doesn't. But I'm also reading this book. Give me a little pop culture. I love Castle, the TV show. I'm sad it's over. And it ended a little weird. We're still discussing, my husband and I, kind of what the ending of Castle means. But I'm so intrigued by the fact that somebody has published a book series of Richard Castle from the TV show. If you know the TV show at all, TV show is about a writer, Richard Castle, who is a novelist, a mystery novelist, and he comes alongside this NYPD detective to get ideas and be his muse for his character in the book, and then he writes these books. And in the TV series, he is writing books about Nikki Heat, who is this NYPD detective, and this journalist follows her around to get in ideas and everything. And it's happening in the TV show. And then lo and behold, the books show up at the bookstore. And I was like, whoa, I have to read them. And I think there's 5 in the series. This is book 4. It's very interesting. The books are good. I mean, they're well written. I don't know who's writing them, because it does have the entire bio of Richard Castle, but it's the bio of the character on the TV show, who isn't named Richard Castle. He is an actor. Many of you will probably recognize this face from Firefly, especially if you're into fandom type TV shows. And it's just a really interesting read. I feel like I'm enjoying the books more because I know so much about the TV show, and I'm interested to see kind of where it goes. The storyline from the TV show is very interesting, and it's kind of coming up in the books about her mom, and I'm just really excited. So I'm reading this right now in after 451, and I'm also just started reading The Hamilton, the book about the musical one where it goes through the actual script with the pictures and everything, because I got it on major sale and I'm really excited about that. So I just started that, so I really don't know anything about that. But that's what I'm reading right now. And yeah, then I'll see what the next book is and go from there. The other thing that you should probably know about me right here, right off the bat, is that I am severely hard of hearing. It's kind of a long story to explain the whole hearing loss part, which maybe I'll save for a future podcast. But basically I lost my hearing when I was 16 years old, and which is why I can still talk fine. I have a lot of muscle memory. Muscle memory does it, talks for me basically. I don't think about it too much. And occasionally, if I'm really tired or very sick or something, my speech will slip a little bit. But for the most part, I talk pretty well. And I started learning to lip read as soon as I knew I was losing my hearing. And so I'm also very good at lip reading. Lip reading is not a skill that every deaf person has. And I was fortunate to be able to pick it up while I was still able to hear what I was looking at and looking for, which I think helped my skills a lot. So I do lip read very well. But I also sign, and I use American Sign Language on a daily basis. My husband signs. He signed before he met me, which was pretty cool. We teach our children to sign. And I try to be pretty involved in the deaf community. And so I thought it'd be fun to add a little signing portion to my podcast. So first, for the very first podcast, I thought we could sign the word podcast, which is this, which technically is the sign for vlog, a video log, which technically is a short video segment. So podcasts tend to be long. A vlog tends to be short. But this is a sign for vlog. But it's the only sign I've seen for podcast. If any of you know a different sign for podcast, please let me know. I'd be interested to see. There certainly is regional dialects for signing. So just because I signed something here, I'm in Virginia, doesn't mean that that's what they sign in California or New York or wherever. So if you know of a different sign, but this is a sign I use. So I'm making a podcast. See the video screen popping up? That's the video screen popping up. So I was talking podcast. I also thought it'd be cute to teach you the signs that my 10-month-old knows. He knows 3 signs, and they're the typical baby signs that a lot of parents are teaching children now, whether they're hearing or deaf or not. So the first one is more. This cuts down on so much frustration. When he is eating, to know whether he wants more or is all done is key. To cut down on this screaming, I can't handle the scream. So we teach sign. So more. He does more of this kind of thing right now. But that's typical for babies to have the wrong handshake because it's still fine motor, gross motor. Yeah. So more. And then all done or finished. Same concept, same sign. All done. Right now, he kind of just goes like this, which is cute. But he knows when he wants more or when he is all done. So that's important. The other one that he can sign is amen, although his tends to be more of an amen. But every night, we have family prayer time. And when it comes to saying amen, the last week or two, we've noticed at the end when my husband and I are signing amen, and then our 2-year-old signs amen, he'll sign amen, but it does look a little bit different. Amen. But more, all done, amen, and podcast. Those are your 4 signs for the day. So that's all that I have for today's podcast. And it's good timing because my little one just woke up from his nap, so I need to go get him. But thank you for watching. If you're watching, thanks, Mom, for watching. I hope there's more watching. I'm looking forward to podcasting more in the future. I don't think I can maintain a weekly podcast just because I am a mom to 2 little boys and that's busy. But I think I could do bi-weekly or maybe once a month. We'll see how it goes. But I've got a lot of fun stuff, ideas to talk to you about and show you and my projects, and I'm excited. And I'm excited about the community and meeting you guys on the internet and being a part of the podcast community in the fiber arts world. Yes, if you found the YouTube site, the Betsy Quillen, Betsy Quillen on YouTube, which is where the podcast will be hosted. So if you liked it, please hit like and subscribe. If you are interested in finding me elsewhere, on Instagram, I'm Quilpen. On Ravelry, I'm Quilpen. My website is www.quilpensquips.com. There's a little bit about me and my blog on there, which should also have links to the podcast. And then I am hoping to set up a Ravelry group for Quill Pens, Quips, Knitting, and More podcast. And we'll get some threads going, and then maybe look into giveaways or cows or I don't even know, but fun stuff. So I'm hoping to get that set up today. So check that out. Look for that on Ravelry. And feel free to reach out and connect with me. And I will see you next time. Thanks.